Hello, and welcome to Startup Stories with Scaleway, where we explore cutting-edge startups around the world and how they leverage cloud computing technologies. I am your host, Ethan Pierce. Today's guest is Lucas Baumann, founder of LocateRisk, a risk management solution that audits your network and application security in order to uncover infections, encryption, open ports, configuration errors, and data breaches. Welcome, Lucas.
Hi.
It's great to have you here. I think to give us some context for our audience, I'd like to start with your 30 to 60 second elevator pitch, just to tell us what you do at LocateRisk.
Yeah, sure. We at LocateRisk are a risk assessment company. You can give us any company and we are able to measure their cybersecurity risk. We do that by finding out which systems of theirs are connected to the internet and then checking them on multiple different weakness points. The information is summarized into multiple reports, one for the management, one for the security or IT guys, and by that we want to enable communication of IT security.
And you've been working on this project for, I guess, 2.5 years now, and you officially started LocateRisk last year. I'm kind of interested in the backstory of how this came to be. There's always, I'm always interested in, is there an anecdote, kind of a story about, with founders that meet each other or something that you encountered in a previous business? How did it come about that you saw the need to create LocateRisk?
Yeah, I've been in startup business all time. So the first job of mine was right after the school where I got started within a dating startup. So an online dating platform with location focus. That didn't go that well, but it was a really cool experience. And during my studies, I and a friend developed a platform where we scan the whole internet for software solutions and their physical location. And when we viewed on that data, we got the idea that it's also possible to derive cyber risk from it. Went to a hackathon of a big German insurance. Won the first place there, and starting from that point, it took off.
Okay. So you mentioned this platform that you built to kind of scan for all these services where they were at, and that kind of then showed you the cybersecurity risks and opportunities that were there. Could you tell us a little bit more then about the technology behind your service today and how that works?
Yeah, our service today is totally different. Back then we scanned the whole internet, but nowadays we focus really on the companies that want to be scanned or that they're in focus. When you give us the name of a company or the domain of a company, and smart algorithm finds all the systems they own and they're connected to the internet. So not only local systems that they have in their server room or in their IP range, but also all their cloud systems at Amazon, Scaleway, or wherever. And when we have found those systems, they get checked non-invasively. So we can do these checks on even systems that are not in focus for security risks or optimization possibilities. So we find that only hard risks like an Git repository in the web root, which is easy to exploit, but also some things that should be tweaked in order to get an optimal security posture. And all those findings flow into our rating algorithm, which then enables the user or the customer to focus on the really important point and to benchmark his company against other companies. Because we can also check like his competitors and then give him an benchmark against those, right?
So I'm curious then, to distinguish yourself from your competition and other companies that might provide a similar service? What are some of the differences or the value add that you bring to this process? And why should companies that are listening to this, why should they be thinking that they need to choose LocateRisk to help them solve these problems?
Yeah, we are a local provider sitting in Germany and hosting our service in France. Um, so we follow all the compliance rules in Europe, GDPR and so on. And we have an really innovative technology. We are funded by the German Ministry of Research because the technology is so cool, right? um, and in Europe, our solution is the leading one, at least what I know. So there's not much to choose from. Yeah.
Well, I do think it's interesting, as we see with Scaleway and others as well, that there is an important position to be had in the European cloud computing infrastructure, but also on the cybersecurity side of things. It's important. It's not just a question of the sovereignty on the side of European stuff, but also just there are different regulations. There are potentially different things that you have to adhere to, like you mentioned GDPR, and so. I do think that's definitely important if we have either European businesses that are looking for this kind of solution, or even U.S. businesses that need a European solution for a piece of what they're doing or building. So it's interesting to see then that that's definitely a strong selling point of what you're doing, is being a European compliant solution for whatever terms that might mean around the cybersecurity space. So as we look at that, then I think it's kind of, a lot of companies would probably understand automatically that they need to speak with someone like you, but I think cybersecurity is also one of those places where people realize they need it after they needed it, because they've had a problem, they've had some kind of intrusion or some kind of a hack. So what kind of companies should call you before that? What kind of companies should be contacting you before they have a problem so that you're able to help them prevent that from happening?
Every company. It's like our customers range from startups to dentists. We got a newspaper article in a really big newspaper in Germany. After that, we got a lot of dentists and small companies as customers. But also like big enterprises. We have multiple customers with or two-digit billion revenue, um, which can also use such a tool not only to measure their own security posture, but of their complete supply chain and their investments and so on. So really ranging from small to large. It's
So,
There are companies for which IT security is more important than for others.
mhm.
So probably those are more in focus. But I think every CEO should inform himself at least once about the security posture of his company, so he knows what's the security posture like, right? Because currently, when we talk to CEOs or members of the managing board, um, almost nobody is able to tell us his security posture.
So then, regarding cloud computing infrastructure on your side, so we obviously a lot of your clients are going to have a lot of things distributed across, physical infrastructure, local infrastructure in house, or definitely lots of other cloud computing services in the mix potentially as well. But specifically to you, what are your needs in terms of infrastructure and cloud?
Yeah, so we need to be scalable, because the workload on our scanners is not all time the same, but we have phases when we scan really a lot of companies, multiple thousands a day, which needs scalable infrastructure. So hosting in-house isn't possible. And we need high security because the data we gather is security data of a lot of companies, and that should be stored in a secure location. So for that, we split the data between multiple hosters. So that's one part, but also we rely on the scalable infrastructures, the Scaleway, um, for the scanners. Yeah.
Okay. So, so you're actually leveraging then the cloud computing infrastructure to do the scanning work that your algorithms are providing that allow you then to go behind and create these reports. Are the reports automated, or is this something that you also sit down and kind of manually process to provide kind of the? You mentioned that you have a report version that's for management and a report version for more the tech team. How much of that is really automated? How much can you automate? Because a lot of that I would think would be repetitive because you're seeing similar problems or similar weaknesses. And how much of it is maybe subjective, where you have to kind of look at the overall cybersecurity kind of position of the company based on the results of your scanning to provide also a perspectives there. Like I'm curious, as a company that comes to you and asks you for help, the the service that I'm receiving then afterwards that helps me kind of take decisions and move forward. I'm interested in kind of the deliverable there, what I get from you, both as management and as the IT team.
Yeah, completely automated. So that was the main focus during development, because that enables a lot of stuff, right?
Mm.
We can start and scan all universities in Germany, for example, or any peer group, without having large costs. And that data enables comparisons between those companies and enables this scoping of the rating and and also of the recommendations for that peer group. So, in our opinion, because the data which can be processed is that large, a manual process doesn't work there, or shouldn't be the target. When our product gets sold, it will be sold by partners in the most cases, and they will set up their consulting with our tool. Um, and in that process, we'll add like important things that the customer will be find interesting for his specific case.
Mm.
Um, but on our side, all is automated and generalized. Yeah.
I think that's interesting because you mentioned this rating that you provide, and so having that be an objective process that's completely automated then allows you to, like you mentioned, um, compare institutions and have understandings based on potentially best practices or common weaknesses across industries or things like that probably provides you also with a lot of insight before you even scan a company into the potential problems that they might already have in place because the whole industry potentially has similar or the same problems. So I can see that being very useful. And obviously on your side for scalability, that's fantastic that you've been able to automate all of this process so that you can then, I'd imagine that a small business scan would probably be fairly easy in some ways. But when you mention something like the university, I can only imagine how many things are connected to that, both on site and dedicated out there somewhere with dedicated servers or other solutions, and then all of the SaaS and cloud-based type stuff that might be gluing into that. So it's fascinating to imagine what you've built there. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate, Lucas, you taking the time to share with what you guys are building at LocateRisk. I think this is a fascinating space, and we're going to see even more as companies. We've seen just a massive scale in what's going on in cloud computing. We know that the next couple years we're going to see in Europe and the U.S. Anything from 5 to 10x the amount of cloud computing resources that we have now being deployed. We know that's going to scale up significantly. So fascinating to see what you've built and excited to to see where that goes. So you mentioned that when your consultants are going to start selling this, that they'll be, that you'll have a network in place. When is that, for people that are listening that are thinking that they would want to work with LocateRisk, when is that going to be into place for them?
Right now,
Okay.
we have partners in multiple European countries. The easiest way is just to go to our website and request a free rating,
Okay.
in which you will find some information about your security posture. And Pentest doesn't bring the insights that rating can bring to you, and it's free, so nothing to lose there. Just go to the website, enter your domain, and 2 days later, you will have your personalized IT security management report in your inbox. And after that, we can connect and have a chat about your security posture. Maybe we can also onboard your system integrator or the guy you buy your IT from into the product, so he can help you with your security posture.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we just go to the LocateRisk website, and we can run the scan automatically from there, and then receive the report. Well, that's exciting. I'm excited to see where this goes for you and how it scales up. It sounds like you've already accomplished an awful lot in a short amount of time, and this, especially for the sovereignty aspect of cybersecurity in Europe, I'd imagine that there's nothing but huge amounts of opportunity in front of you to be taking. So I think that's it'll be fun to see where you guys are at in a couple months and in a year from now, 2 years from now. So we'll keep an eye out, and best wishes to you in scaling up LocateRisk. Thanks again for this discussion, Lucas.
Thank you too.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Startup Stories with Scaleway. If you are a startup that uses cloud computing resources, be sure to check out Scaleway's startup program at scaleway.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or your preferred podcast platform, and check out all of the previous episodes of the podcast. Again, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.